We've been talking about the Home Office for different reasons throughout the course of the first hour. Let's come back to a story we covered last week. The Home Office will still deport 2 overstaying Indian migrants, despite them being released from a Home Office van in Glasgow. You remember the protests last week. 2 men, both Sikhs, originally from India, were arrested on suspicion of immigration offences, having lived in the UK without leave to remain for 10 years. After the news of their arrest got out, around 200 people flooded into the street to surround the van holding the men and to block it from leaving.
Let them go! 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 Let them go!
And on that went. It was an 8-hour standoff. Officials eventually released the men on public safety grounds. The Home Office said the demonstration only pushed back the inevitable deportation. Alham Souidi is from Freedom from Torture, Freedom from Torture Glasgow, I think is the correct term. Is that correct? Good afternoon to you.
Hello, hi. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me today.
It's a pleasure. Listen, just explain what's going on here, because, you know, it's a story of many parts, this. And I guess from the outset, a lot of people would say, well, you know, if you've broken the law and your status is wrong, then unfortunately, with the best will in the world, this is what happens. Why should these men not be deported?
First of all, we need to understand what the system is, immigration putting in place. If there is a problem with the system, therefore, would be a problem with the outcomes. So usually Home Office or government uses the term of failed asylum seekers or failed immigration cases, but actually here in Glasgow and probably elsewhere, we do not use failed asylum seeker, we use refused asylum seekers.
Right.
There's always reasons why asylum seekers.
But that's about language, isn't it? I mean, you said
Yes.
your version of the same law is you would suggest is a more understanding way of establishing the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. I understand where you're coming from your perspective. What is the case, as far as you know, Alham, with these 2 men?
These 2 members of the communities are New Scots in Glasgow. That is the word we use for people who come to Scotland to settle. They are members of our community. They are treated as an equal citizens here in Scotland. This is our values and principles to treat anyone who come to Scotland and make it a home to them as an equal citizens. Therefore, we treat them as such. So those 2 members of the communities have been for 10 years in Glasgow. Yeah. Regardless, I don't know much about their cases, but regardless of this, they should be treated in the system fairly. Yeah. And they should be given the opportunity to represent their case properly. And legally as well.
How do we know? Sorry to interject, but do we know that they haven't already done that? Did this arrest last week? Did this come out of the blue, or was it after a prolonged dialogue with these men?
To be honest, it's very vague what a government is trying to do. Coming on the day of Eid and
it's irrelevant. The Eid is irrelevant to them, isn't it? Because they're Sikhs, so that doesn't work.
But it still is coming to a multicultural area where
the police don't stop work, do they? Because it's Christmas or Eid or whatever, they carry on.
Yeah, it's provocation.
Why is that? Why is that provocation?
Provocation. What do you expect? There is cohesion in the community.
Why is that provocation to arrest 2 Sikh guys at Eid?
It's because entering an area, multicultural area, where there is cohesion.
But if you didn't have anybody out on the street, if the crowd hadn't showed up, nobody would have known. They'd have just taken the 2 guys away, and that would have been an arrest like you might arrest a shoplifter, regardless of whether it's a religious holiday.
Yeah, but the van was of Home Office was marked as immigration enforcement. It's very noticeable when enters an area. So it's clear that they are coming to people to take them away, to drag them out from their homes.
Yeah, I don't think they dragged them. I think they actually walked, as far as I could see. I didn't think there was any dragging.
they took them away from their homes. That is
Yes,
basically,
yeah, just didn't drag them. Yeah, so they put them in the van, and then there was a big protest. Is that I mean, what's your answer then to this? Because the Home Office would say, look, this job has to be done. It's not always pleasant for some people, and it might, in an ideal world, we'd all just kind of go and live wherever we like. But if you're here illegally and you've overstayed or something like that, then the Home Office have to clearly take measures and steps towards addressing that. And if sometimes that will mean being deported.
Yeah, Priti Patel thinks that legality is by deporting people, but actually it's all about politics. She is working on her own agenda.
Why is it about politics if they're here illegally?
Legal. Well, no one is illegal actually in Scotland. Everyone should have the room that.
Well, you might think that, but that's not the law of the land, is it?
They need to fix the asylum system to be legal.
So you want to change the law to make everybody legal?
Sorry, could you say again?
You want to change the law to make everybody legal, regardless of their circumstances?
But it's inhuman practice to go to a community and drag people out.
Why is that? I don't understand. I mean, I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I just don't understand why it's illegal. Because obviously, if somebody has overstayed or their status is somehow not ticking all the boxes, that would make it illegal.
You're talking about a dysfunction immigration policy,
dysfunction because it identifies illegality.
No, I think there is a problem with the immigration system itself. It needs to be fixed. Therefore, the result will be much better and fairer. It should be fairer rather just.
But why is it if somebody is illegal, as in they've overstayed, as an example, why is that unfair if the Home Office come and arrest those people? Arresting
itself is inhumane. You can't do it.
Well, that's how we have a legal system, isn't it? We arrest people. Arrest people is just a legal way of ensuring that the person has their rights, and the arresting department, the country, that whatever it is, has their rights intact. It's just part of a procedure, the arrest.
Yeah, but they are not criminals. Surely they have reason.
No, but lots of people are arrested because it gives them their legal rights once they've been arrested.
Do you know that in the past that there is there was a promise actually, Priti Patel, when she said that she will do something about the way they are dealing with immigration after the winter run scandal. At that time, at least 83 cases were wrongly deported.
Yeah, that does happen.
That she would do something.
Yes, no, I agree, but that doesn't mean to say that every subsequent deportation will be illegal, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that all deportations should be illegal because it's against human rights or something.
Yeah, it's human rights. They need to have to.
But
to,
only if
to
only,
do.
Yes, but if you're illegal, then it's not against human rights, surely.
Who make them illegal? So people have been here for 10 years.
So all the laws we don't like.
They are socially connected. They are socially linked.
Yeah, no, I don't dispute that, and I'm sure they're really decent people and great members of society. Listen, we will stop there for no other reason than time. But thank you. You've established some elements of what confused me, which has essentially, from many elements of this story, I think confused a lot of people. And as I sit here now, I'm slightly more confused than I was before we began speaking. But thank you to you. That's Alham Souidi, who's from Freedom from Torture Glasgow, arguing the case that things that you don't like that are illegal should just be made legal, and then everybody's happy.